Hello, I'm Dr. Sam, this is Dr. Sam's Health, and I continue covering my epic journey. In my previous video I covered the North American part of my trip, where I went to New York, Boston, Ottawa, and I was traveling by car. In this video I'll present to you the second part of my journey, my travels overseas. I visited quite a few places. First of all, I went to Warsaw, where they had the European Psychiatric Association Congress, and I presented my own research, met some people there, networked. Then I flew to my hometown. I visited my alma mater, some landmarks there, met old friends. Then I flew to Israel, and I always wanted to go to Israel, but I never had time to, and that was my golden opportunity to do so. So I explored some local foods, met some classmates there, and from Israel I flew to Netherlands, where I met another group of old friends. We took a road trip to Belgium. We have seen quite a few things there. Also I met with Steven DeVos, aka the Lifting Dermatologist there. Check out his channel, it's quite informative. Also we filmed a field interview with him there. There are 2 parts and they are posted on my channel, on his channel. Check them out too. So you can see that the trip was quite extensive. I've made quite a few video snippets, and when editing it I realized that I have to cut a lot of things out just because I don't want this video to be a couple of hours long. I want to stick to a relatively short time frame because I don't think that everyone actually cares that much about my travel, but nevertheless I will try to incorporate the most important pieces of my filmmaking there into this video. And again, as in my previous video, I apologize for poor quality of number of video snippets, just because I didn't have special equipment, I didn't have proper lighting, sound in some videos is just terrible. But nevertheless, these were my experiences and I really wanted to share them with you. So without further ado, let us dive in. The first part of my trip started on April the 5th, 2019, or day 8 of my travels. I actually had this full day almost completely to just relax and regroup. So I had a chance to check my weight and to realize that I actually have lost 4 or 5 pounds since I started my traveling. That was very encouraging. I packed my suitcase, I had some time to relax, I had a workout, and then I went to the airport and flew to Warsaw. It was a pretty long flight. I think it was 8.5 hours long. The good thing is that it was an overnight flight, so I could sleep in the plane, and it was a non-stop flight. So I just arrived to Poland the day after, on day 9 of my travel, and I had several hours to regroup, relax a little bit, to check into the hotel, to check in with the registration desk of the Congress, and in the evening of the same day we had the opening ceremony of the Congress, which is always something interesting to attend, to watch some performances there, to listen to some speeches. And after this event, after the opening ceremony, we had a networking fair, and it was actually quite good and interesting because first of all, you could network with a lot of people, but they had a variety of local Polish foods, all kinds of foods there, and I didn't even dream about sticking to my keto diet there, so I let myself have all this food, some alcohol, trying different dishes, and I made a short video snippet there, so please take a look. Hey, so I'm at EPA Congress, Warsaw, Poland. Amazing foods here. As I predicted, it will be very difficult to resist this. There is a networking event. Obviously, everyone is eating instead of networking. We got some pierogies, some vareniki, some duck, some mango chicken, which is, I guess, not a real Polish food, but the stuff here is amazing. I'll do some portion control, maybe a little bit of alcohol, but that's it. And I'll make a next video very soon, maybe tomorrow. As you can see, I had a chance to try different dishes there, and the good part of this event is that, at events like that, you can have little bits of everything, rather than going out and having a full meal based on one dish. Then you would be tempted to have something else, and you don't want to have huge portions. In this case, I just had a chance to have little bits of everything, and I hope I didn't get into a terrific caloric deficit there. Right after that, we had a young psychiatrist meeting, which is essentially a party. The good thing is that I had the chance to spend the calories I just consumed by just moving a lot, talking to people and dancing. So that was it for that night, and the next couple of days I spent just attending different sessions of the Congress. I actually went to a couple of courses. I had to present my own studies, so it was a nice, interesting experience. So April 9th, the last day of the conference. I'm going to my hometown tomorrow. The diet is Iraq, obviously. The place is very nice. I made some new friends. Matilda from Sweden. Lots of other people like walking around. The conference is almost over, so I'm gonna have some nice coffee. There is a guy here who makes an amazing one, and that's it. So I realized I cannot pass by this gentleman. He was supporting me all week with wonderful cappuccinos and coffees, and thank you, sir. And I'll be with you in the next video. I went to a couple of local restaurants, had a very nice set of Polish dishes there, and I even made a snippet in one of them. Here we go. Hello again. So as promised, I'm having some authentic Polish cuisine, and I'm trying to stick to my keto diet, so it will be very carnivorous. So first thing is beef tartare. It's amazing, and I guess it's very common for Eastern Europe in general, and in Poland it's a big thing. The second part of my meal will be pork knuckle. That is very Polish, and this place is awesome too. So I'm trying to stick to keto, trying to do my intermittent fasting, and in general, we'll see how it goes. There are so many temptations here, like pierogi and other things, but at the end of my trip, I'll weigh myself to see how it worked. Of course, I had some time to explore Warsaw. I've been to Warsaw before, but it was like 15 years ago. And this time I walked a lot and I went to the same places, but the city has changed dramatically. Nevertheless, I went to the old part of Warsaw, the market square. I actually saw the museum of Marie Skłodowska-Curie, who is the pioneer of using X-rays in medicine. And they had the house where she was born. I actually made a short snippet there. I really had to stop and make this video because just behind me is the place where Maria Skłodowska-Curie was born, and now there is a museum of Maria Skłodowska-Curie. And as you know, she was the one who started using radiography, X-ray, and that's the beauty of old European places. Wherever you go, there is something, some piece of history, and it's beautiful. I actually came across this museum while walking down the streets of Old Warsaw, and I had a chance to see the old city wall, which was almost completely destroyed during World War II. I made a short snippet there. I'm getting used to this selfie stick. I always hated people who walk with them. Like, your life is so important, right? But I really wanted to make a couple of videos as part of my travel vlog, and I think Poland, Warsaw is a beautiful spot for that. So here we go, and somewhere ahead of me there is a beautiful place. There's a ruin of some castle or castle wall. I'm approaching it. I think I'll just turn. And I'm a big fan of the Witcher series, and you can definitely tell where Andrzej Sapkowski, the author of the Witcher series, actually took his inspiration from. And I'll turn around so you can see the part of this wall. There are like good chunks of it. I don't know the history, maybe I'll look it up. But in general, it's a very, very nice place to walk around. And of course, I made a short video in the core of Old Warsaw, the market square. Here we go. Now I'm walking down some very nice cobblestone street. Beautiful places, and I actually a little bit nostalgic. My many years that I lived in Eastern Europe, and now I'm coming to the central place. I'm not sure, but I think it's called Marketplace. I'll be there in just several steps, and I'll definitely make a nice panoramic view of that. And I remember that I've been to this place ages ago, like 15, 17, 18 years ago. I'm not that old, but I remember that I was walking down the streets of Poland, and I actually didn't even have Google then, I think. And I was just like walking around and saw all these things.
It was like a surprise discovery for me. It was very beautiful. I met some nice tourists, Polish people actually, who were coming from different places, and we spent some time here. I remember they didn't have any money. I couldn't even like afford, I don't know, an ice cream or a drink, but it was a nice time, and it was very interesting then. It's definitely very interesting now. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna have something to eat. It's actually pretty chilly here. Surprisingly, it was quite warm all these days, and I will use the thermogenic effect of food to warm me up a little bit.
So that was it for Warsaw, and on day 13 of my travel, or April 10th, I went to my hometown. On the very first day there I met with my classmates. We had a nice meal, which was very carnivorous. We had some shashlik, which is a traditional meat dish, very similar to shish kebab. I made a short video there. Hey, so it's the first day in my hometown and I'm meeting my classmates. They're just too shy, they don't want to be famous. And I'm having my dinner, and it's shashlik. It's a very common Georgian thing that we have here. Still carnivore. That's it, I'm gonna have it and I'll keep it posted. We ordered a lot of different kinds of shashlik and we shared it with each other. But also I made a new acquaintance there. There was a huge and very cute cat who looked exactly like this cat from Captain Marvel, who turned out to be this alien being, Frankel. And as in Captain Marvel, this cat there, it scratched Nick Fury and he lost his eye, and this cat, he scratched me while I was feeding him, and I was afraid I would lose my thumb, but as you can see, both thumbs are up, everything is fine, but it was just hilarious. He looked so much like that cat from Marvel Universe. It was unbelievable. Take a look. You see? The following couple of days I was just walking around, checking out some landmarks. I made a couple of videos there.
So here we got something truly monumental. I'm standing in the middle of the largest square in Europe. And if you are curious which city I'm from, or which country, I won't tell you, but you can guess. You can Google it and find the largest square in Europe. It is amazingly big. I'm not sure if you can see it, like you can take a look here. Right behind me is the Parliament building, the provincial parliament, and behind me there are like three huge complexes. One of them is a national university. Right behind me right now is somewhere that was the industrial complex administration building. It's actually quite famous because it was very advanced when it was built in the 1930s, and then it was almost destroyed during the bombardment during the World War II, but turned out it was very difficult to destroy because it was made completely out of concrete, metal and concrete, and it was very, very sturdy. And the further building behind me is the National Academy, I think, of Military Academy. I actually don't remember. And this square, is all squares in Soviet Union, the largest ones were called Lenin Square. Now it's the Independence Square, I think. So it's quite interesting, and it's still gloomy and gray, but I still have lots of nostalgia, and it's very interesting to be here. So I'll try to make a walk there and to take a picture, a snapshot of my alma mater, and there is also a large hospital there where I used to have parts of my residency and my training. So let's see you there.
I also visited my alma mater and took a short video there.
Right behind me is my alma mater, a national university, medical university. You see the doors are closed. Actually, these stairs were quite famous for hundreds of students from different places of the world actually standing there and smoking, and they found a solution. They just locked the doors. There is another entrance from the back of the building. But yeah, nostalgia is at its maximum. We spent 6 years in this building.
While visiting my alma mater, I dropped by the Department of Human Anatomy of my university. I definitely spent a couple of years there, and I made a short video there because it's a very remarkable historical place.
Hey, just wanted to show you something. I'm sitting in front of the building, which is very, very old, and I've spent in this building at least 2 years of my life. It is the Department of Human Anatomy of my university. And I actually wanted to walk into it, but it's kind of dark and gloomy there, and there are cadavers all over the place. Actually, the first thing I've seen was some lady preparing a corpse. So I don't think YouTube would appreciate this kind of footage there. But anyhow, I wanted to show you the entrance sign. It shows 1805. It was founded in 1805, over 200 years ago. And just behind my back there is a memorial plaque of Professor Vorobyov. He was the gentleman who actively participated, if not was the lead of a very important project in, I guess, Russian history, Soviet Union history. You know, in Moscow they have mausoleum and they have a preserved body of Vladimir Lenin. So this is the gentleman who actually developed the protocol for preserving the bodies. So we've got our own mummy in Russia, and this is the place where it originated. And I had an honor of studying. And actually, sorry for the sounds, they actually had quite loud music and I asked them to turn it off, but the works cannot stop, I guess. Anyhow, I'm glad that I was able to share with you this gem of Soviet Union history.
And of course, my visit to my hometown would be incomplete without visiting my old hospital where I used to work, where I spent several years of my residency, doing my master's degree, doing my PhD, and my last place of work, the Institute of Neurology, Psychiatry and Addictions of the Academy of Medical Science.
So this is the last entry for my hometown trip, or hometown part of the trip. And just behind me is the National Institute for Neurology, Psychiatry and Addictions. And I used to be a senior researcher here ages ago. It was nice to drop by and see that not much has changed. Same people, said hi to everyone. And that's pretty much my last entry for hometown. I'm going to Israel tomorrow. I realized that I can make another entry. So just behind me is a very, very old building. It's a very old department of the psychiatric institution. And maybe you have heard that lots of Russian writers and poets were doctors, like Chekhov or Bulgakov. But also lots of modern era writers, like Soviet writers and poets, they were dissidents. We're talking about 1960s, 70s, and a lot of these people were actually treated in mental institutions as they had some mental disorders, mental illnesses, but at the same time, in many cases, psychiatry was used as an instrument for repression. And it's definitely a very sad page in the history of Russian Soviet Union psychiatry. No one is proud of it, but the historical fact is just behind me is a very old building. This is one of these wards when one of the famous Russian writers was treated. At least I'm sure about one. Eduard Limonov. He actually wrote in his book about this place. So that's the place.
So I visited all these places, and in the end of my trip to my hometown, I had actually a treat, a very interesting meal. I had something that is very unique for Central and Eastern Europe and something that is not available in North America. This item is crayfish, and I cooked them at home, and I made a short video. Please take a look. Okay, here we go. These are crayfish. I told you I'm going to have a very, very special dinner tonight. I couldn't find any decent crayfish in North America at all, and in Eastern Europe they have amazing ones. They're like small lobsters. They're super tasty, very nutritious. They're effectively seafood, crustaceans, and they don't have any carbs, so I'm still sticking to my keto plans, and they're just perfect for my travel. These are actually a real treat because I don't even know when I will have them again. I actually found a scale at my old place in my hometown, so I managed to monitor my weight over the course of the days I spent there every morning, and it was 4 or 5 pounds consistently less than my weight on day one, which was a very good and promising thing. That was it for my hometown, and my next destination was Israel. On day 16 of my travel, April 13th, I flew out from my hometown to Warsaw. I had a very complicated trip. I was flying primarily with Polish Airlines, so all my travels went through Warsaw. So I flew from my hometown to Warsaw. I had several hours there. Then I flew to Wrocław in Poland, and I had an overnight layover there, which was a little bit fatiguing, to say the least. And I was really sleep deprived, but nevertheless I managed to make a short video there. Here we go.
So my adventures continue. I'm kind of stuck in Wrocław. It's a Polish city. When I was planning my trip, I had quite a few items to take care of, and unfortunately I couldn't overcome certain issues with the itinerary. And actually the only bad part of my itinerary is the flight from my hometown to Jerusalem. It's not one flight, it's like 3 flights and a bus, and they are separated by several hours each. So several hours ago I flew from my hometown to Warsaw, spent I think 7 hours in Warsaw. Then I flew to Wrocław and I spent the last 4 hours here, and I've got 2 more hours to wait until my flight to Tel Aviv. And then from Tel Aviv I will take a shuttle to Jerusalem. I'm a little bit sleep deprived. I managed to sleep a little bit in Warsaw. I couldn't sleep here because there is pretty much nothing here. And there is a cafe behind my back. It's the only place that is open, and it's actually very difficult to follow your diet for a couple of reasons. First of all, I'm sleep deprived, I'm tired, I'm not actually hungry, but I tend to feel like having something just to justify my presence in certain places. Plus there was some drunk Pole there who was talking very loudly, and he was absolutely obnoxious, but he kind of managed to fall asleep himself, so it's a nice thing. A couple of other items there. It's just coffee is more expensive than beer. I had a little bit of nuts and a small beer, and that's it. So I think I'll finish this part of my video, and I'll move to the customs or passport control to go to my flight to Tel Aviv, and my next video will be from Tel Aviv.
I think it's obvious how sleep deprived I was at that point, but nevertheless I was excited to see new places. And from Wrocław in the morning I flew to Tel Aviv, and there I met with a good old friend of mine, a classmate of mine, Masha, and we spent several hours in Tel Aviv. I actually had several hours to kill in any case. So what we have done, she met me at the airport. She took me to the old town, Jaffa, and in Jaffa we walked around, took some pictures. I made a couple of videos, but I just don't want to bore you with them because they're of very poor quality. Anyhow, we had a very nice meal at the place called the Old Man and the Sea in the harbor of Tel Aviv, and then I took my bus to Jerusalem.
Hey, so I made it to this wonderful place. It's called the Old Man and the Sea. It's an old port, next to Old Port. Actually, the port is just in front of me right now. You cannot see it. The place is amazing. They have all kinds of Israeli appetizers here. I'll take a picture. I'll post it here. But just to make a very quick snapshot. That is something that comes with any order. Pretty much. Again, it's very difficult to follow your diet, but you know. I'll keep it to a minimum. I just want to try a lot of things like real hummus, other things, and we ordered some seafood, and it's a real treat after a long trip.
I arrived to Jerusalem on April 14th, which happened to be the Palm Sunday, and I was really tired, so I just took a short nap. I slept for a couple of hours, and then I walked out and walked the streets of Jerusalem at night. Was very nice. And the very next day I started exploring the old town. First of all, I went to the Tower of David, apparently the place where King David never had anything to do with. It's some sort of a historical archaeological artifact, a misnomer. Nevertheless, it is quite an impressive castle, and there is a lot of history there. I actually made a video on the rooftop of the Tower of David, the highest point maybe in whole Jerusalem, the old one at least. Unfortunately, the quality of the video was very bad because of the wind, and you cannot actually hear anything. So instead I will post a short snippet that I have taken in the lower part of this tower. Here we go.
Hey, I decided to make another snippet just because the place inside, there is like a little garden here. It looks so cool. All these historical places. You can only imagine what was happening here over the course of the past millennia, not even centuries. And I've got mixed feelings. It feels like something biblical or something from Assassin's Creed. Both I guess, right feelings. So next up will be the Western Wall or Wailing Wall.
After that, I walked down the streets of Old Town, and I had some local foods, and I went to the Western Wall, also known as the Wailing Wall. I made my wishes there, made my prayers, and I actually managed to make a short video there too. Here we go.
I wanted to show you something. Right behind me is the Western Wall or the Wailing Wall. I went a long way to come here to make my wishes, as lots of people are doing. I hope that it will come through, but definitely there is a lot of work for me to do myself, and I hope with God's help the things that I'm wishing for will come true.
That was pretty much it for that day. I was still kind of sleep deprived and I was readjusting my circadian rhythm. The following day I went to the holiest place ever, which is the Church of Holy Sepulchre. I managed to get in, there is a huge line inside, but the place is amazing, and I will sum up my experiences with this place in a short snippet that I have taken outside. Here we go.
So I just visited the holiest place ever. Effectively, it's the pinnacle of my improvised pilgrimage. It's the Church of Holy Sepulchre, and it is located here in the old town of Jerusalem. It's the 4th century church that was built on two sides. Actually, it is quite big inside. You can see that the entrance is very, very modest, but inside there's like a little underground village. And it's built on two sides. One side is the place where Jesus Christ was crucified, the Golgotha, and the other side is where he was resurrected.
Nutrition-wise, in Jerusalem I had to try all the local foods. Obviously I had some shawarma, some falafel, some halva, some hummus, all these things. I'm pretty sure I didn't try everything, which is not a bad thing. I don't regret it much because I had a short period of time there. I tried the most iconic foods, and I just hope that I did not overeat, though the foods there were pretty much the opposite of keto diet. Lots of carbs. Overall, I was very happy with the Israeli part of my trip just because that was the place I really wanted to visit for the past, I don't know, 20-25 years, and I literally never had a chance to. And this time I could get the gist, the spirit of the place, to see Tel Aviv, to see Jerusalem, to see all these wonderful, historic, holy, spiritual things, to touch the stones that maybe Jesus Christ touched, and to see how several cultures can actually coexist for millennia. So that was very, very interesting. After that, I went to Netherlands. On day 20 of my trip, I flew back to Warsaw and then to Amsterdam, where I met with my oldest friends ever. A really good friend of mine lives there with his family. I actually knew him for, I think, at least 25 years now. It's a scary number to mention, but nevertheless, it is literally the oldest friend of mine, and I know well himself, obviously, his wife, his son, and they have two amazing Maine Coons there. So I had a chance to see them again. We spent some time at their place. We ate a very healthy meal. His wife cooked a wonderful salmon with asparagus, like perfect keto meal with some omega-3 fatty acids. So diet-wise, it was perfect. I had a chance to play with Maine Coons. I actually tried to make one of them, the older one, to say something on camera, to act, but he did his cat thing. He was just sitting there and being adorable.
Say hi.
Cats are such cats. I totally adore this cat, and the good thing is that he's quite old. He's, I think, 8 years old, and he had seen me quite a few times already in his lifetime, and he remembered me. That is my Archer reference. The following day I had the chance to relax, to sleep in, and in the afternoon we went to see something that's called This is Holland.
So I'm in Amsterdam, next to the place called This is Holland. I'm visiting my friends here, and they took me to this, I can't call it a museum, like experience. They have a very nice like audio-visual system where you're sitting in a chair and flying over Holland, over Netherlands, and it's really beautiful and it's really cool experience. I highly recommend everyone who ever visits Amsterdam or Netherlands, just drop by if you have time. Totally worth it. And now I think I'm gonna have some herring because it's one of the coolest nutrients or the nutrient-rich foods ever. It has lots of calcium, vitamin D. I wish we had really good herring in Canada. And yeah, I'm gonna see what else I can check out.
After that we went to a very cool local restaurant called Cannibal Royale. We had a true carnivorous feast there. I had a huge chunk of meat and I made a short video about that.
Okay, so that was definitely worth waiting. I'm not even taking a fork. It's like carnivores heaven. The place is called Absurd and it's exactly what was advertised. Absurd amount of meat. Going keto, going carnivore here.
I think that they know that their customers tend to overeat, and that's why they have this old style scale inside of the restaurant. I tried to use it, but I think I was lucky because the scale did not really function, so I didn't know how much weight I gained after this fantastic meal. I really enjoyed the meal, and of course I enjoyed my time with my friends. That was it for that day, and the next day I met with a friend of mine and a colleague of mine, the person from the European Pathway Association, Ruben. We had a brunch in the morning somewhere close to my friend's place, and after that we packed and we went to Belgium. It was a nice road trip, but I'm afraid I kind of screwed it up a little bit for my friends. They're big fans of World War I and World War II, all the historical sites, and our first stop was in the city of Ypres, which is famous for its museum of World War I. I think the museum's name is Flanders Fields Museum, and as a Canadian now, I'm actually very proud of our Canadian history and obviously of our celebrations, if I can use this word, of the glory of our fallen soldiers. And the city of Ypres is famous for its museum, which is huge, and because I was late to return from my meeting with my colleague, we actually arrived to Ypres at 6 p.m., which was too late to go to see this museum. Nevertheless, the city is a museum on its own. It has quite a few historical sightseeings, a very famous gate there, completely covered with the names of fallen soldiers. And I wanted to say several words about the city itself. When my friends told me that, we're going to go to Ypres, or Ypres in French, it kind of rang a bell, and I realized later on why. When I was studying in medical school, we definitely studied some toxins and poisons and chemical warfare, and I remember there was a very famous or infamous gas that was used in World War I, which was called Iprit or Ypritis. And when my friends mentioned this city, I realized that there must be some sort of a connection. So indeed, Ypres was the site where some poisonous substances were used first, including mustard gas, which we know is Ypritis. And the name Ypritis actually comes from the name of the city where it was used for the first time. Obviously, it was a very tragic page of human history and modern warfare history, but for me, as for a physician who studied history of medicine and pharmacology, it was very interesting just to see the place where all the historical events took place.
I think I cannot not make a video like this. I'm standing inside of Menin Gate. It's a gate that is very similar to l'Arc de Triomphe in Paris, and it was built in memory of all the soldiers who died here fighting, mostly during World War I. I'm not sure if it was exclusively World War I or all the battles that were fought here. And just behind me you can see on the wall they have the names, and pretty much the whole building is covered with names and just a tiny fraction of people who died here. That's definitely a sad and epic page of the history of this place. Again, I will try to get to the museum tomorrow, right after I'm seeing my YouTube and medical colleague. I'll keep you posted.
Also, though we didn't have a chance to go inside of the museum, our hotel had quite extensive exposition of different military items, uniforms, weapons from World War I, and it was just amazing because it was just a regular hotel and they had so many things that could be a museum on its own. And the next day we went to Newport. That's the place where Dr. DeVos's practice is. I actually had a chance to meet with him, with his wonderful family. I had the chance to visit his Dr. Fox's power basement, and obviously we made our field interview. Once again, I encourage you to check it out on his channel, on my channel. I'll add the link here. And as we agreed upon months and months ago, we went out and we had some Belgian fries and some Belgian waffles on the beach. So now I'm with Dr. DeVos, and as promised a while ago, we're having this wonderful Belgian fries. We already made a video, and we hope that after all this wonderful food, we'll be able to work out a little bit, maybe ride a bike.
So Dr. DeVos is my cameraman, and he also offer this wonderful gift of this amazing waffles as promised. I'm gonna take a bite actually right now. I love carbs. So difficult to be on keto diet, but we'll see how my vacation affects my weight in general. Thank you.
It was a very nice experience and was the penultimate day of my travel. After meeting Dr. DeVos, my friends picked me up and we went to Bruges. We spent some time there, and I had the chance to learn something psychiatric there. They have a very funny history behind the expression "the fools of Bruges," and I made a short video snippet there. Here we go.
Hey, I was just told a psychiatric story about Bruges. There is an expression, Bruges is fools, or fools of Bruges, and this expression has a very funny history, literally a psychiatric one. So it was I think it was a king, his name was Maximilian, and he was very upset with the population of Bruges, and at a certain point they asked him if they could build a psychiatric hospital. They asked for his support with that, and he said, oh, you don't need to. All you have to do is just close the city walls and city gates and lock everyone inside.
Welcome to Bruges!
Well, speaking of Bruges fool, that was the way this expression was created.
In the end of the day, we had a very nice meal in the local restaurant, quite famous one. It's called Poule Moule, which is famous for its chicken and mussels. And after that, we went to Amsterdam. Ironically, we had a short stop at McDonald's there. And I'm not particularly proud of this experience, but I had to try something there. You see, I'm from Europe, and we used to have something that's called the Big Tasty. It's like a huge burger there in McDonald's, but I never saw it in North America, so I thought it was my last chance of having it there, so I did.
So I know it's like really pathetic. I'm sitting in McDonald's in Netherlands, and there's Justin Bieber playing there just to support my Canadian spirit. And the thing is, like in North America, we don't have something that they have here in McDonald's. It's like McDonald's alternative to Burger King's Whopper. Something is called Big and Tasty. It's actually bigger than regular burger, and it has very unique sauce and so on. I really crave it, and I have an opportunity to have it like once a year. So tonight is my last night in Netherlands, and I'm gonna have this thing. It's gonna ruin my diet, but we'll see how it's gonna work when I'm gonna weigh myself in a couple of days. I gotta dig in.
And the very next day, I just packed my stuff, I checked my weight. It turned out that I actually regained a little bit of weight during the last week of my travel. This Israeli foods, Dutch foods, Belgian fries, but I completely blame the Big Tasty from McDonald's for that. Nevertheless, my weight was exactly what it was when I started my trip, so it was still okay. And I packed my suit, said goodbye to my friends. They drove me to the airport and I flew to Warsaw. Warsaw was my last stop before flying to Toronto, and I made a short video there. Take a look.
Hey, I'm in Warsaw again. It's like the fourth or fifth time in the past 2 weeks. I'm traveling a lot through Warsaw Airport just because my initial destination was in Warsaw. And I guess they should be tired of me already. I know the airport really well, that's a good side. And I had a good chance to try a number of Polish dishes here in the airport while waiting for my planes, and a couple of travel notes. I actually managed to weigh myself at my friend's place earlier today in Amsterdam, and I weighed exactly the same amount as I did when I just started my travel around 4 weeks ago. So it's very nice. I will definitely check it tomorrow, and I've got one more flight left, which is Warsaw-Toronto, and I'm looking forward to coming home, having a good night's sleep in my own bed, and waking up and catching up with a number of things that I've left unfinished before starting my travel. So that's it, and my next video will be from Dr. Sam's health quarters.
I had a little snack there, last snack in Poland, and I flew back home. It was another long flight, but it always feels better when you fly back home, and it was an evening flight, so effectively, because of the time zone change, I had like an endless sunset that I could watch through the window. So it wasn't too bad of a flight. I had a nap a couple of times, and in the end of that day, I think it was day 24 of my travel, I actually managed to have another date. And I don't think we ate anything, we just had a little bit of wine and just chilled and relaxed. And the following day was the time to wrap up my travel. I checked my weight, and it turned out that over the 25 days of travel, I did have some fluctuations of my weight, but in the end of the day, I did not gain any weight. I just lost 2 pounds, and I was quite proud of that. Couple of things I have to say. One question is, am I really happy with my result? I cannot say so. I know for sure that I could have lost much more weight if I was very true to my diet, but I think it would have taken away from my travel experiences. So in the end of the day, I find it an okay situation. I did not gain any weight. I've lost 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds, and I achieved my goal, which was not to gain any weight. So I think that's time to wrap up my epic journey. I will definitely have the next video dedicated completely to my travel rules, which will hopefully help you to maintain your weight or lose some weight, or not to ruin your diet while traveling. I know it was quite a long video, and I still had to cut out a lot of things that I wanted to put in. I really wanted to share my experiences, and I want you to see that I'm a regular person. I have my own struggles. I always try to overcome them in the most effective way, and I'm always trying to share my experiences with you. Now I have returned back to my nutritional regime. I restarted working out. It's been already a week or so. I had quite a few admin things to sort out. In the next several days, I'll be working on my next installment, the final installment of this epic journey vlog. And I wish you all the best, and please, if you like my videos, hit the like button, subscribe, check out my website, drsamshealth.com. We've got quite a few interesting things for you there, and I'll see you in my next video. All the best, my friends.